So I know I made this channel to go over me working on both of these cars, and I promise we're gonna get to the 72. I've got some things in the works for this car, some parts, some ideas, and money to be spent, unfortunately. But that's the way it goes when you have cars this old. So today we're gonna get right back into some work on the 73, and we're gonna work on the interior and get some really cool pieces put into this car, bring it up to date a little bit, get rid of the mismatched front buckets and rear seat cover that has been in there since the 90s at the earliest, late 80s, early 90s. I got a cool story on that to share too. So, as you saw in the previous video, if you watched that, thank you very much. I really appreciate you guys following along on these videos that I'm putting together. These seats are out of I believe a G6, and I've cleaned them and cleaned them and cleaned them, and I don't know why, but they always look like this a few days later. So, regardless of them not matching the car and not being comfortable, yada, 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 it's time to update this whole interior. Now, this back seat, I loved. It's just because it's the way the car was when I bought it the first time. But this back seat is original to when I owned it, and it's actually original to at least 2 owners before me, maybe 3. I'm not exactly sure how many people owned the car before the first time I owned it back in 06, 07, in that time frame. But that back seat has been in this car with that cover on it for a long time. It had the matching bench seat in it, but when I sold the car the first time and it shifted hands a few times there and got to the most recent owner before I bought it again, the bench seat is now gone, unfortunately. Would love to have the matching bench seat in here, and I probably wouldn't even change any of this. But since it's gone, it's time to shift gears. But like I said, I had a really cool story to share on this bench. So it's got this green vinyl, and it's got the plush. It's velvet is what I was trying to say in the last video. If you were screaming at the camera or screaming at the screen saying it's velvet, you idiot. Well, that's what it is. It's velvet, and it's soft and totally screams 1990s, right? Well, the cool thing is when I was working on this car and I had the dash out and was working on the wiring, and I pulled out all the original ductwork and chucked all of it because it was shot, and I'm going to, a vintage air setup at some point anyways, something interesting fell out of one of the air vents in the middle. I think it was the very middle one, because you've got these holes up top, right, for your defrost and to be able to get some heat blowing up on the face. These old cars aren't very efficient at getting air moved around in them, but at least that's close to you. This actually fell out of the bottom. I'm not going to show his last name just for the same reason as I didn't show or say the name of the person I bought this car from the second time, but Todd, his nameplate fell out of an air duct vent, and I thought, okay, maybe somebody worked on this car at a GM dealer or something. Who knows? I mean, the car's 50-some years old at this point in time when I was rewiring it. But I thought, maybe I'll look him up on Facebook, shoot him a message, and ask him, what are the odds that this was your car at some point in time? And so that's what I did. And this is where the story gets cool. So like I mentioned, Todd, I looked him up on Facebook, shot him a message, explained to him exactly what I just said, and asked him, what are the odds you own this car? And he replied within the next day or so, and couldn't believe that he was looking at a picture of this car, said he hadn't seen it in decades. And come to find out, he bought this car from the original owner, so he was the second owner, in 87, I believe is what he said. And he owned it from 87 to 91. 91's when I was born. So just some history for you here. And so he had the car for a 4-year run stretch. And he said it was the original light green paint. There's evidence of the color of the car and like the door jambs where the fenders have rubbed from probably being on and off the car a million times. But he and whoever repainted the car the color it is now. And so this paint's been on here since 87 and 91, somewhere in that time frame whenever he did it. and it looks cool. It's a cool green. It gets a lot of compliments, which I have to agree with because I really like the green. If I repaint this car, or when I repaint this car, I feel like I have to paint it this color again, but with new, paint properties that are out there that I'm sure are better than what's in this now. And, a layer of clear coat might be nice because obviously she doesn't have any of that. But pretty interesting. Like I mentioned about the back seat, he said that the crushed velvet seats were a gift to him from his grandfather. So just some more cool history behind this car. I love learning about all the different things related to not only this car, but I just love hearing stories like this. So I thought it'd be cool to share that with you. But let's go ahead, let's get these seats torn out, and let's move on to putting in the awesome new pieces that I've got picked out for this car. Drag car status. We get that bad boy out of there. Let's get the other side out now so I can be even more out of breath. It's kind of embarrassing, actually. So now that I got this out, you can actually see the color of it a little bit better. And just look at that green. It's like even in the velvet, it's almost like there's like a shade of it. It doesn't really pick it up on camera as well, but the whole piece has a little bit of a greenish hue to it, if you will. Maybe that's just dirt from 50 plus years. Well, I guess 30 plus years since that was all put in. But I am gonna miss the look of this, I'm not gonna lie. All right, your first look at what the new seats in this car are going to be. And we went with none other than the Procar Rally with black vinyl. And they write white velour on here. But what that really means, houndstooth, baby. Just look at that upgrade. Those look tiny compared to this. These also fit awful in the car headroom-wise. I'm not a big guy, so I was fine, but I've had some people that were taller and they did not fit very well. I'm not sure how the brackets are gonna work with these because I've heard kind of the same story, but we'll get a look here once I get these brackets unboxed. and see how everything shakes out. But what do you guys think? I think these are gonna look awesome. Now the fun doesn't stop there. We got the matching rear cover. Now this was, my wife's watching this, pretty cheap. And by pretty cheap, I mean this cover costs as much as one of those seats, which if you look at their website, the Pro Car site, the seat covers, if it's just black vinyl, it's like 199 bucks or 150 bucks or something. Not terrible. But when you get into the matching houndstooth, quadruple that, just for fun, well, 3x that. Not quite quadruple, but 550 bucks for this. Now, is it good quality? It seems like it right now. I've never reupholstered a seat in my life. I can say right now that bottom one looks like it's gonna fit great. Top one I'm not 100% sure on yet, but we're gonna be learning how to hog ring this and get this covered. At least I think so, unless I get too scared and don't want to break it and ruin it and end up taking it somewhere and spending hundreds of dollars to have somebody recover it for me because I'm scared. We'll see, but let's get those front back brackets figured out and see how the front seat's gonna go in. So I don't do this very often, but unfortunately, I'm not gonna have everything to wrap this up today. I figured out the hard way that obviously the seats come with the bracketry underneath because they're a sliding seat. So this is the part that attaches to the actual seat itself. And it comes with the hardware necessary to mount these brackets. You also need to purchase the vehicle-specific bracket for your car to be able to mount it to the floor pan, and that's what these ones are right here. However, to be able to attach these to the floor of the car, I need the original bracket, or I'm sorry, the original bolt hardware. It comes with this hardware, but the way they're making it look like in the instructions is that you use that hardware for the side pieces here to be able to attach it to through these slots to choose your height. So I don't have the original bolts for the floor pan, and I'm not reusing these because these are not right. They're all different sizes. I think the only ones that are right are these two. But regardless, we're gonna need to order another bolt kit that goes with these specific seats. So I think I'll get them all mounted up and set them in the car for now. And then once I get the appropriate bolts, mount them down. And actually, maybe I won't even mount them all the way down yet because we still have got to pull this seat apart, clean it up, decide how the foam is, if we're going to keep it. Maybe we just throw the cover over this cover to just add some additional padding on the original 73 seat here. Depends how it fits too, I guess. If it's really loose on just throwing the cover over it now, it might be in my best interest to leave that on there. But I don't want things like these buttons to pop through and make that visible or leave an indentation in the seat or something. That would be stupid when I could just pull off the cover. So I'm gonna get these all hooked up here and mounted to the seats, throw them in the car, and I'll show you along the process. So I got the first seat sliders all attached to the actual base of the seat itself. And you can see the material that they use steel-wise is actually, it looks pretty solid. The welds all look pretty good. The brackets themselves, or the sliders I should say, are a little difficult to install with one person. So if you have a second pair of hands, definitely use them. It can be helpful to slide this up. You'll engage on each side to be able to find the appropriate hole. Then you'll slide it up to get to the next hole, and so forth. So, and then the last step is to attach the return spring, or I guess I don't know what they call this spring. Return spring. And so when you engage the one side, it pulls the teeth out of both sides of the bracket. And the last thing you want to do is make sure that these are on the same tooth number. So I went down 7, 7, make sure that those are lined up. And then once the bracket is actually mounted in the car, then we'll attach it to the bracket. But I'm gonna obviously do the driver's side first. This one was the passenger seat, and then the last piece that comes in the box is the plastic cover for the mechanism, the tilt mechanism on the side here. So I'll probably put those on very last piece once everything's all mounted in the car and good to go. Back at it today. Finally got the necessary hardware rather than having a bunch of mismatched bolts. So with the bench seat, your factory hole locations are on the outside, left and right. The bucket seat cars have a bracket that mounts to the floor pan on the front and back there. Obviously, with this being a bench seat car factory, just have to drill some new holes. So took the brackets, set them on here, used a marker, and drilled out additional holes on the inside after, screwing it in, making sure you've got your placement correct. Repeat that on the other side. So I've got both floor brackets mounted, ready to put the seats on and get those slid on and adjusted height-wise. I can already tell you I test fit the passenger side before I ever did that bracket over there, and I put it on the lowest setting and it still sits high. That's probably the biggest complaint about these seats that I've seen online, is that they typically sit pretty high in the car. However, I'm not very tall, so I'm just gonna leave them as is for now. I don't feel like hacking these up and cutting them down to give me a lower seat in the car. Now, if it drives me nuts after a while and I'm hitting my knees on the steering wheel or something, I guess we'll see how that goes once we get these mounted up. But gonna get these slid on, attach them front and rear, and show you the semi-finished product. Obviously still got the back seat to address, but wanted to get these in and making sure that everything is good to go before moving on to the back seat. And bam, they are in. And I've got to say, I just had my wife out here. We both sat in here. And the first thing she says is, it feels like I'm sitting in a race car. That's how well these seats hug your body. And I popped over in the driver's seat now that I got the actual, full mounting completed to the floor and to the chair itself. And I had plenty of room around the wheel. I don't have a tilt column. But I did not feel like my head was up too high, and based on me being short, and it felt pretty good actually. So I don't think I'm gonna need to change anything on these, which is awesome, awesome, awesome. The other thing that I haven't ordered for the interior, so I've got a headliner coming, and probably gonna look to redo the panels in here and repaint those. But I've got to do something different with the seat belts. I've got to get something better. These are not, first of all, these are not safe. They're original to the car. And I want to add a 3-point up here and in the back for the kids. So I think it's Morris is the one that makes those seat belts. So that'll probably be a separate video because those are really expensive, and I'm going to have to fit that into the budget between this project and, this pile over here. So, but all in all, next thing you'll see here is the work on the rear seat, but the front seat's very happy with those and the look. They look fantastic. So it's been some time since I got the front seats put in, the 73, and it has been absolutely brutally cold here in Iowa, and have not had time to work on this as much as I would have liked. But I did get some things moved around in here. I also made some recent purchases for the 72 to hopefully get this project more underway here soon. But still need to finish up these back seats. So today I'm gonna be removing all the hog rings from the old seat covers, see what the foam condition is like underneath of here. I'm sure it'll be fine. And I might end up repainting the brackets. They're actually, or not the brackets, the seat frame. They're really not like rusted or anything though. It's just dirt. I guess it is a little bit of surface rust. So we'll see. It depends on how all this comes apart. Got a little bolt clipper here. Had to go out and buy to be able to cut these hog rings. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this removed for the first time and expose this foam to some fresh air for the first time since the late 80s, early 90s. Wow, it's actually in really good shape. It's kind of sad to take that off, honestly. So, as you can see, foam's in pretty good condition. Honestly, there's no like big holes missing or anything like that, which I'd sat back there and it never felt like that. I think we're gonna be good to go on the foam. That's great. Wow, that's pretty crazy. Also in pretty good shape, surprisingly. So now that we've got the covers fully removed, kind of a sad moment, honestly. Gonna get these seat frames scuffed up, get all this loose rust off of them, and get some rust converter spray paint on these and let them dry. To be continued. So now that I've got the seat frames all repainted and got the cushion foam back on, I'm trying to fit the rear matching cover over this foam and this frame, which is going to be interesting because I can see that it's kind of sharp in that spot. I don't want it to tear through. There we go. Figured I'd start on the bottom. It seems like the easier piece of the two to start with. Having never done upholstery work in my life. Tight there. That corner does not. Could just be the way that they cut the vinyl. Just wonder if they didn't cut it as big on that side. You got it pulled tight. Suppose we'll have to test it out and see. That should be tight. Well, I'm gonna mess around with this a little bit rather than putting all of it on camera for the next 30 minutes of me trying to figure out how this is going to line up. Be right back. So, after a few attempts of going around this and tightening it up and rolling some of this over, you can see it's a little long in a few spots, but it's already got the piping that wire that's built in that's attaching this to the seat frame. And so I had to pull it pretty tight in a few spots because it does seem to be a little big. This is the custom made, or I guess the matching cover that you can have custom made to match the houndstooth rally seats that Scat sells. I figure once it's in the car and it gets some heat on it, because right now it's so cold, some of this will probably, these wrinkles will probably work themselves out. But not horrible, not great. We'll see if I put it in the car and see what it looks like after I get the top one started too. But so far, decent, I think. I'm sure people will let me know in the comments if they disagree. So, figured out pretty quickly here that this back seat cover is way too big for the size of this seat based on the foam that it currently has. So I think it needs another layer of foam. The original, obviously, or if that was even the original foam, had been good enough for the cover that was on it before. It was nice and tight, and that was built to the foam. But this seat cover is pre-made for 68 to 74 Novas. And so obviously there's gonna be some variance there, I think, both in the years and also just what the seat foams are like after 50 years. So you have to decide if either I'm gonna buy foam and trim this myself or drop this one off and just have somebody cover it for me. Not sure how deep in I want to get on this. I don't really know what I'm doing to begin with, but so I've got a decision to make, but this is definitely not going to pull tight enough for this to lay flat and not just be wrinkled to all hell. And if you look at this, you can see why. The gap between where you're supposed to hook your hog rings to the top of this cover, and not to mention the bottom, I'm way past the bottom section here for me to be able to attach on. The sides are fine. I mean, they're okay. I think they probably can go tighter. But it just gets worse the more towards the middle of the seat that you go. And I don't know if that's just the type of foam that was on here, but it definitely is gonna prevent this from fitting correctly. And I can't cut any of this, right? Because there's that wire running through there. So I'm gonna stop the video here, I guess, and we'll see what I decide to do next. If I order the foam and cut it and fit it myself, or if I'm just gonna drop this off and have somebody finish it right. So fast forward a couple weeks and I've got the seats back. So yes, if you were placing bets on whether I was going to finish this myself or have it done professionally, if you guessed the latter, then I guess you were correct. So let's pull these out and take a look at them. And bam! Turned out awesome. He just finished wrapping these today. So I think even with a little bit more sunlight on them, he said he set them out for a little bit, any remaining wrinkles will most likely come out. And if not, it looks 1,000 times better than it would have if I had done it. So he did have to add foam to the top, or the back I should say, and then the bottom I just had him redo it because I knew it was too loose after getting it done and realizing how loose the top was. Come to realize he also removed about 3 inches of material off the bottom of the back cover to be able to pull that tight. But looks phenomenal. Can't wait to get in the car here next. Kids are in bed. It's just me out in the garage at this point, which means we've got a little bit of peace and quiet, which we all need some days more than others. So I'm gonna use this time to finally get this seat back in here and wrap up this last part of the interior upgrade for this time. In the future, I've got some other plans which I'll dive into, but let's get this back in and see what it looks like. It's gonna be a little hard with the front seats. Really makes the door panels look a lot worse. Having nice vinyl covered material that is fresh. What else needs improved or upgraded is these seat belts. Oh. Wow. What an improvement. Go ahead and get these back into their normal seated position for an even better view. Very, very happy. Such an improvement. Well, I'm gonna wrap this project up at this point. Took a lot longer than I expected, obviously, having to wait for that seat coming back, but ultimately I just decided I don't have the time, I don't have the patience, I didn't have the materials, and I found a local guy who had really good reviews, single guy, you know, less expensive than some of the bigger upholstery shops, and couldn't be happier with the product. Overall, that seat cover is just way too big. I don't know about the other ones that Procar sells, but this houndstooth special order one that they made, apparently a limited run of, based off the person I talked to there, this does not fit at all without severe modifications, which I didn't have the technical skill for. I know he said he had to cut like 3 inches off of the bottom of the cover, so I think he added an inch of foam to both the back and the bottom part of the seat. So really glad that I took that route and end up with a much better product. And I'm really excited to move on to the next couple agenda items I've got for the interior. Headliner's been on back order for months now. Hopefully that gets in someday, relatively soon. And then on top of that, I still wanna try to tackle the seat belts and do the Morris 3-point upgrade in the back for the car seats, and then do the 3 points up front and have some seat belts that are a little safer. Running these original 50-year-old belts is probably not the best option, especially with as much as I tend to drive the car, and you know, I'll have car seats back there. So definitely need to prioritize the safety as much as possible in a car with no airbags, and you know, just not designed to the standards of standing up to accidents the way stuff from today does. But as far as any other updates on the interior, contemplating pulling all the panels and just repainting them with the correct SEM black interior paint, because right now it's all glossy black, and you know, it's technically not correct. but we'll see. The list of things I want to do compared, on this car and then also on the 72 hiding back there, just seems to keep growing and growing, but the time that I have seems to be getting less and less. So maybe once it warms up, I'll be up for some longer evenings in the garage. But thanks again for watching and going along with the transformation of the interior here. Again, couldn't be happier with the results.